Earth. It's here. Everyone can see that. But what does God mean for us to do with it? Just keep our hands off and leave God's perfect creation alone? Or is it possible that God intends for us to remodel what He has made? It's nothing new for Christians to disagree. But sometimes we argue because we don't understand each other's terms. One of those arguments has to do with whether God sees us as co-creators with Him. I recently found these words in a website. We are not co-creators with God because we're not on His level. Now, of course, those who think we are co-creators with God are not saying we're on the same level with Him. In another website, someone writes, we are not co-creators with God, and when He creates something, He does not leave it unfinished. In Genesis 1:31, then God saw everything that He had made, and indeed it was very good. Well, this raises an important question. After God had created the earth, the plants, the animals, and the people, and said it was all very good, what exactly did He mean? Was He saying that conditions on earth were so perfect after creation that nothing more needed to be done? Let's say you take a photograph of a beautiful flower. You mount it in a frame, hang it on a wall, and then you stand back and say, that's very good. Then suppose someone comes along and adds a frowny face, and you discover too late that your 3-year-old has added her own contribution with some crayons. Would you still look at your picture and call it very good? Earth no longer looks just like it did when God created it. Is God displeased when we make our marks on His original masterpiece? Do dams desecrate the just right rivers? Are bridges a blot on God's flawless creation? And do cities corrupt the otherwise unspoiled landscape of God's original artistry? When God called everything very good, did He mean it's all done, or finished, or all completed? At the end of the 6th day of creation, was the earth just as God wanted it always to remain? Well, to answer that, let's ask a question about a completely unrelated subject, Lego blocks. At a Lego manufacturing plant, the plastic pieces come off the production line and end up in a colorful box. Now, suppose some Lego executives pick up the box full of blocks, smile approvingly, and say, very good. What do they mean by very good? Do they mean that the box full of perfect pieces should remain unopened and sit on a shelf forever? Do they mean that those flawless blocks should not be touched by human hands? Of course not. Instead, their very good means the blocks are perfectly suited to fulfill the purposes for which they were made, to be unpacked and rearranged into all kinds of projects. The very goodness of Lego blocks allows them to be put together in all kinds of very creative ways. Each project is made of nothing but Lego pieces, but every project is unique. The variety of possibilities is endless. In a similar way, when God finished creating the earth and pronounced it very good, He was saying that it was perfectly packed with all the potential it needed. It had everything required to fulfill the purposes that He had made it for. God made trees for their beauty, but He also made them to provide building materials so we could make things like houses, picnic tables, campfires, and guitars. God made animals not only for His own and our enjoyment, but He also made them for human use. He Himself made Adam and Eve garments from animal skins. Paul made tents from animal skins, and Jesus ate fish. So, are we co-creators with God? Does such language suggest we're on the same level with God? Paul spoke of himself and others as God's fellow workers. He used a Greek word that means to engage in an activity together with someone else. To say that we are co-creators does not mean that we have the same creative power as God. He creates from scratch. We create from stuff. He creates from nothing. We create only by using what He has created for us to use.